Coming up next on Another View, the invasion of pink and green. The Mid-Atlantic Regional Convention of the Alpha Kappa Alpha, or AKA Sorority, is here in downtown Norfolk. AKA is the first African-American Greek-lettered sorority, founded in 1908 on the campus of Howard University in Washington, D.C. On today's program, we'll talk about Greek life, the mission and vision of AKA, and answer the question, are sororities really relevant in 2012? If you're in a sorority, we want to hear from you at 440-2665. I'm Barbara Lee, and it's all about the AKAs right after this news from NPR.
Discussing the issues and celebrating the successes of the African American community. This is Another View.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Another View. I'm Barbara Lee. Before we get into our discussion today about the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority and Greek life in general, I want to ask you to do something special for Another View. Call us right now at 889-9476 and make your pledge of support. We are in our Spring Fund Drive, and membership is how you can ensure that Another View stays on the air. Do you hear me? You can ensure that Another View stays on the air if you become a member by dialing 889-9476. So if you like the show, give us a call and show us some love. We appreciate that. Now, if you've been around downtown Norfolk this week, you may have noticed a lot of women wearing pink and green, the colors of the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. Their Mid-Atlantic Regional Convention is being held here. And since sorority life is such a part of the college experience, we thought this would be a good time to find out about the first Greek-lettered sorority to be established and incorporated by African-American college women. Joining me today are three members of AKA. One I know you're very familiar with, television news anchor and managing editor of News Channel 3, Barbara Ciara. Hi, Barbara.
Hello, Barbara.
So glad to have you again on the show.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. AKA Tidewater Cluster Coordinator, Dianne Blakeney.
Hello, Barbara.
How you
Thanks
doing,
for
Dianne?
having me.
Thank you for joining us. And Public Information Officer for the Mid-Atlantic region of AKA Kellee Edmonds. Hi, Kellee.
Good afternoon.
So glad you ladies are here. I wish you all could see them. They look absolutely marvelous. And they are just grinning from ear to ear. So how is the convention going, Barbara?
Well, let me just tell you, I was just overwhelmed yesterday at our public meeting where the entire community was invited, and we actually filled the room. And there were so many elected officials from every region of the Hampton Roads area represented there. And they were mindful of their time limits and had some very invigorating comments to say about what Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated does for the entire community. So it was quite nice. And of course, a salute to our military. It was an invigorating start.
Oh, that's fantastic. Kellee, the AKA Mid-Atlantic region, tell me, what are we talking about? How many people? What's involved?
We're talking about chapters in Virginia and North Carolina, and we have 6,000 members in the Mid-Atlantic region. Mm-hmm. We have 123 graduate and undergraduate chapters, and we are led by Dr. Linda Henry Gilliam. Mm-hmm. She's our Mid-Atlantic Regional Director.
Okay, so, and are all 6,000 here?
Well,
we have nearly 3,000 registered.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So you've got a lot of pink and green in downtown
That's
Norfolk.
fantastic. That is
the
fantastic.
Marriott and the Sheraton.
Wow. So they're all there. So I want to talk a little bit about the history of AKA. All right, it's 1908, and Dianne, I'm going to turn to you for this. What was going on the campus of Howard University, in society in general, that would make non-women decide that they needed to pull together and create this organization?
Well, you had some students who were at Howard University in 1908 who had a real desire to support the community and to promote scholastic achievement students in the community, and they had a cause to want to serve mankind. And they got together, and our founder, Ethel Hedgeman Lau, was dating the founder of Alpha Phi Alpha, and they were formed in 1906. And
So that is the true sister brotherhood, isn't it?
exactly, and eventually married. And when they were incorporated, and they began in 1906, in 1908, Ethel gathered 9 young women on the campus of Howard University for the cause of doing the same types of things of services for young women as Alpha Phi Alpha was doing for men. And with that, they met and organized, chartered, and began this service to mankind, offering assistance to those who they could support in the community.
Okay. So, Kellee, today, transform to today, what kind of community service are you guys involved in?
Wow, we run the gamut. We are an international service organization foremost, and so community service is at the heart of what we do. And to give you an example of what we're doing here in the Mid-Atlantic region, we're members are coming together with donations of toiletries and gift cards, and we're benefiting 3 local shelters in the region.
3 local shelters in geographic areas of the cluster, one in Newport News, the Minchville House, and then one in Elizabeth City, North Carolina, the Garden of Hope, and the Dwelling Place in Norfolk. And the members of our sorority will be bringing toiletry items for the shelter for women who have to transition back to their normal lives after being residents of the shelters. And so you will find toiletry items, gift cards is another thing that we have used that you don't normally see people donating, gas cards, because once they transition out, they need to go to the drugstore and purchase some clothes and items for their families. So we have received barrels and barrels of things so far. This afternoon, the directors of those community shelters will be gathering with a ceremony, thanking the conference for collecting these items for their residents.
Okay. Kellee, you mentioned grad chapter and undergrad chapter or student chapter. Explain for those who may not be familiar with what the difference is.
Well, the difference is that graduate chapter members tend to have their bachelor's degrees, and they are out of the college life. And so undergraduates are members who are currently pursuing the undergraduate studies at accredited universities or colleges.
Now, Barbara, you came in as grad chapter. Is that correct?
I did.
What made you decide to become an AKA?
Well, first of all, I am surrounded by pink and green in my family. And so I'm not sure I had the option of anything else. But more than that, I mean, I saw the example of community service, which I gravitate toward. My mother-in-law and all 3 sister-in-law, and now my niece, and now my granddaughter. They're AKA. And so when I came into the organization in 2001, it was an incredibly good fit, because you're always looking for ways, if you are active in the community, to give back in a big way. You can do that singularly, or you can do it with an organization that's known throughout the country, dare I say the world, for community service, but on so many different levels. What I noticed between what the AKAs offer and others is that they're doing it globally, and this is pretty much thematic for us in our regional conference this year, what we're doing not only nationally but throughout the world. And we support women, and not just women, but citizens from cradle to the grave with many of our initiatives. So that appealed to me in a big way, knowing that you could really make a difference being an Kappa Alpha woman.
Dianne, what made you decide to join? Did you join through the student chapter?
Yes, I became a member and was initiated in 1972 at Virginia State University. And I was a freshman as I observed the ladies on campus, and the community service appeared like beautification of the campus and tutoring students at a children's home in Ettrick, Virginia, and liked it. Everything about them was involving service. So my sister became a member in 1968, and and she seemed to enjoy it, so I became a member.
I'm hearing a legacy theme here. Is that something that's very important, Kellee?
Yes, absolutely. My mother is a member of the sorority as well. I'm hoping that my daughter will become a member as well. So yes, there's definitely a family ties, family bonds throughout the sorority that are very strong and that permeate throughout the organization.
Yes.
And one other thing, Barbara, I want to mention is, membership has its privileges. And I just have to say that because you'll remember when I was president of the National Association of Black Journalists, the president who came after me is also an Alpha Kappa Alpha woman. So you had two national presidents in a row. And we knew each other. And we also knew people who wanted to get into the business who were Alpha Kappa Alpha women. And very often we hear about the good old boy network. It works that way with us as well. She had an excellent candidate who wanted to be a reporter in this market. And through that association and knowing me, that young lady is now working in this market. It's a wonderful association because then you know where good candidates are, and you know that these women are much like what you would want in a candidate for a certain job position. So there's that.
Okay, so who is an AKA woman? How do you become one?
Well, we stand for, and our mission is to have good character, high scholastic achievement. Service is from the heart. You have no problem about serving others. And those young ladies, there is a GPA requirement in the undergraduate chapters, and on the graduate level, there's by invitation only. However, the same thing is required. Good high scholastic achievement, good character, has a heart for service, just likes to be with the group, serving others.
Is it are all Alpha Kappa Alpha women African American women?
No.
We're a diverse organization.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people will be surprised to hear that.
We have many ethnicities in our organizations. It was founded as the first African American sorority to be found in the United States, but all ethnicities are attracted to what we do. And we welcome them with open arms.
Yeah, there was an article in Ebony Magazine a couple of years ago that actually opened the eyes of all of the readership about how many of the traditionally African American fraternities and sororities were integrating. And so a lot of people then began to open up their eyes that it wasn't just a specific race, but it was inclusive.
440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240 are the numbers to call. Give us a call if you are a member of a sorority and tell us what makes that very special for you. Why are you a member of a sorority in 2012? I want to talk about your experience, the two of you who went over or became AKs as undergraduates, about the experience, because I want to contrast it with your experience, Barbara, coming in as grad chapter. So,
Kellee, I was graduate also.
You were graduate also. Okay, well, then I'll start with you, Dianne.
Chesterfield, Virginia.
But I mean, just in terms of what was, you said that you saw women walking around campus. I get that. But what was the process that you had to go through?
Well, every semester in 1972, there were initiations or intakes. And, of course, they would put the posters up and you would submit your information. But what you were saying about what attracted me was, at the time, the GPA was 3.0. And the Alpha Kappa Alpha women dominated the dean's list. And for many of us who were there on student loans and grants and aid, if you maintain a certain GPA, that calculated financial support for you. And so to be an Alpha Kappa Alpha woman during those years, during my undergraduate years, it has assisted me in completing my education at a 4-year institution. And we dominated the dean's list. So when someone said to you, "Oh, you an AKA," they knew automatically that you had the scholastic requirement and that you were serious about your education. So that meant I liked being around a group of women that everybody knew was smart. And there was no question, because they knew that in order for me to be active, I had to maintain that
You had to
GPA.
maintain that grade point average.
Yes.
So do you think that the women, when they first started the organization, was the whole idea of the talented 10th a part of that thought process?
Yes, and scholastics is number one. And I've been a graduate advisor to an undergrad chapter, and with all that's required with the service piece, you still have to maintain your scholastics, and that comes first. And to be able to handle that requirement of maintaining high scholastic achievement and have a feel for service, it fits for some, and you really have to be serious if you can handle them both.
So we know that there's a whole pledge process. There's a process that you go through on the undergraduate level. Some might say, then why not just pay your dues and you're in?
Oh
why
my gosh.
Why do you have to go through that? What is that proving?
Well, the thing about it, you use the word pledge, and 21st century Alpha Kappa Alpha women try not to use terms that were used in the past that had certain connotations. And so you use the word pledge, and what we use now is membership intake process, and we say MIP.
Okay.
And so when you
I
hear
won't make
people
that mistake
saying MIP, they know that you are now 21st century because you know the history with all of that. And we have no tolerance for hazing. And so that's...
So that MIP, is it still the same process though, or is it just the rebranding of the same old thing? What do you think?
It's a documented, accepted itinerary that the organization has prescribed, and everybody has to follow.
And I know you won't tell us exactly what it is because it's a secret. I get that.
But let me just say this.
I get that. Go
At
ahead,
the end of
Barbara.
that process, you know how serious the candidate is.
Yes.
Because, you know,
And is that a part of the reason why that there is a process to judge whether or not somebody's very serious about
Yeah.
becoming a part?
Absolutely. I mean, part of it is, you know, you're invited in, and so you're already meeting a certain criteria. But then the entire MIP, I guess, leadership gets a chance to take a look at that particular candidate and vet them. To make sure that that person is a good fit to be an Alpha Kappa Alpha woman. And, you know, as it's been stated, you know, there is a standard, and you want that person to meet that standard so that, you know, there's no disappointment later. And so
Right.
that's a part of the process, to make sure that it's a good fit for both the candidate and, of course, the leadership.
Now, you came in after you graduated from college.
Yeah.
So was your process, did you still have to go through a process?
Absolutely.
Another secret. Look.
Absolutely. There's still a process, you know, and that intake process allows, it opens your mind more about the organization than perhaps you knew going in. And through that process, you also understand what the sisterhood is all about. And it gives you an opportunity to really embrace the mission. And I will say, and just by saying that, I will say when you come out of it, it is like a renewal. You actually feel invigorated by the mission that is ahead of you.
Yes.
Kellee, it's not a cheap proposition, though. I mean, there is a financial part to becoming a member, is it not?
Sure. There's a financial commitment to becoming a member.
So what would be your response then to someone who would say, well, it's exclusionary then because you have to be able to also afford it?
Well, there is that factor, but I think the chief among all of that is that we have a commitment to service. And so the money, yes, that's a part of it, but the real central focus is that we are trying to help our local communities. We're trying to infuse education. We're trying to help our young girls, part of our EYL programs, to get them.
What's an EYL program?
It's Emerging Young Leaders.
Okay.
And
Talk
that's
to me about it.
one of our signature programs under our international president, Carolyn House Stewart. And we're trying to touch the lives of between 10,000 and 15,000 young girls in grades 6 through 8, teaching them leadership development skills, character building.
And tell her about the Youth Summit.
Oh my gosh, we had such a great time.
It was so powerful.
Dianne.
Our international president, Barbara Stewart, is now encouraging that the first event to go out the gates is a youth summit, providing them with an opportunity to exchange dialogue with professionals on a panel list. The 3 topics yesterday were maintaining healthy relationships, youth and
Go ahead.
youth
Keep talking.
and the law, and teenage philanthropy, and had poets there, powerful oratorial presentations.
By the young people themselves?
Yes, and they knew ahead of time that they could have that opportunity to express themselves. And it went on for about an hour and a half before I had to leave, and the students were spellbound in attention with those topics and approached the mic and addressed and asked questions as they related to each topic. Very articulate, very well poised, and wanted to know how to begin opportunities to serve their community in their different cities. And I'm so sorry we didn't have coverage, but it was something that everybody should have seen.
It was very, very, very powerful then.
Very.
440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Where are all the AKAs out there? Call in. Let's talk about let's talk about what's going on with your sorority. If you're not an AKA, but you're a member of another sorority and you'd like to talk about that experience, give us a call, 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. What would convince a woman? I guess I'm trying to understand what's the difference between, there are a bunch of sororities out there and so forth. So what would make someone say, I have to be an Alpha Kappa Alpha woman, other than your mother-in-law?
Well, let me just say this while we're on the subject. Okay. You know, there's also a Panhellenic Council that kind of, incorporates all of, the Divine Nine. So, and we're all service organizations to a certain extent. But what I will say is that you have to find your fit among those organizations. It could be as simple as there may be one sorority or fraternity that's more active on your campus or not. That may speak to why some people gravitate toward one or the other depending on what campus. Or it could be legacy, like you pointed out, that you've grown up knowing the service that the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated does in the communities. And then that is your example. So, there are many different reasons why people pursue different organizations that happen to be Greek-led organizations. But I will say, coming into the oldest and finest organization, it certainly has its appeal. But more than that, the sisterhood that I have experienced is one that very often when people think of women together doing something, you might get the imagery of, a crabs in the barrel mentality. It's been nothing like that in my experience. When I meet a sorority sister out in public, it is like family. It is like meeting someone and knowing immediately that there is a connection and a background and a history that you share. It's nothing like it.
Let's talk to Cynthia in Virginia Beach. Hi, Cynthia. You're on the air.
Thank you. I know a young lady who had the emerging program at her school, but because her parents weren't familiar with the Greek activities, and I am not a Greek, she was really, really hesitant. But her mother thinks that it was something that she should do. I also thought it was something that she should do. Can you tell us a little bit more about it and how we can definitely encourage her to get involved?
Okay. Thank you, Cynthia, for the call. Go ahead. You want to do that, Diane?
This Emerging Young Leaders Initiative is a program that develops leadership in middle school age youngsters, civic engagement, and how important it is to be a supporting community servant in their particular community, maybe their school, giving them opportunities to show that they have those skills that's going to promote that among their own
So it's kind of the starter program, if you will, in terms of learning about community service and what's involved with that.
And how it affects the world around you.
Okay. And
a lot of times it's a foundation that youngsters in the middle school really need to see how effective they can be.
Okay. We need to take a little quick break because, as I told you all, we are in our spring fundraiser. But hang on, because we got a lot more to talk about on the other side. But now I'm going to kick it over to Pledge Central, and I believe that Anthony McSpadden is standing by. Anthony, are you there?
I am here, Barbara.
Oh, and are you Greek, Anthony?
No. Can't say that I am. I could say that I look at things sometimes and say it's Greek to me, but no.
Well, we do know that this is Pet Pledge Friday.
It is.
And hopefully we've had lots of people calling in with their pledges.
Well, we have, and I've just been spending some time listening to Another View here, and Barbara's a great friend of mine. I adore Barbara. She's got the greatest laugh in the world. I can hear it from my end of the building, and she's in the other end of the building.
That just means I'm loud.
No, you have a wonderful, infectious laugh. And, I got to tell you something else. I'm really proud of Another View. We've brought it to radio last July. Was it July 15th? Is that
July
right?
15th.
July
That's
15th. That's
the
a date which I will always remember because we took the show from television to radio. Long story short, funding ran out, and we needed to keep the program on, so we decided to put it on the radio. And Barbara has just done a great job, along with Lisa Godley and, of course, the inimitable engineer, Perry Smith, who handles and has made this possible today, by the way, that I can speak to Barbara and our listening audience at the same time. So thank you very much, Perry. The number to call, 889-9476. That's our Pledge Central number here. Barbara's been giving out the number, of course, for the callers to call into her show. But the number for you right now, if you're an avid Another View supporter, we want to hear from you today at 889-9476. It is Pet Pledge Friday, but we were talking about Another View right now. We've got 3 minutes left in this break. We want the phones to ring. If you have enjoyed, and I tell you, I listen every week to Another View, and I always learn something, much as I do with a lot of programming that we have here on 89.5, but I always learn something when I listen to Another View. It's a wonderful show. It's a great Friday show, I think, because it's a great wrap for the week. We get to learn lots of new perspectives about things. And Barbara, tell more about that. That's why the show is called Another View, isn't it?
That is the reason why it's called Another View, because we...
Thank you for that call.
That's
Absolutely.
fantastic. Please support us, because we really look at issues that affect Hampton Roads from an African-American perspective. And sometimes that's a different perspective. Sometimes it's the same perspective. But it is always a lively and interesting conversation. And I hope that people are enjoying hearing about the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority today, that there are a lot of things that happen within our community that unfortunately don't necessarily get coverage. And so we like to bring to people an opportunity to hear some new things. And that's why we hope you'll support WHRV by making your pledge at 889-9476. How was that, Anthony?
That was wonderful, Barbara. We might even ask you to come in and pitch sometime. Oh, yeah, we already do that, don't we? 2 minutes left in this break. We would love to hear from you if you're an Another View listener. It's important for you to call in with your pledges of support. It helps keep programs like this on the air. We want to keep Barbara busy. It's not as if she's not busy, but we want to keep her really, really busy. And another thing, too, to think about, if you're thinking about Another View, remember the round table. That's always entertaining. Thank you for that call. That's always an entertaining day. I always kind of ask Barbara, well, what do we have today? It's the round table? Okay, let's see what we're going to do. And it's always fun. It's always fun. 889-9476. Barbara loves the round table, don't you?
Yes, I do, actually. I have to fasten my seatbelt because I never know what Bill Thomas is going to say. It's wonderful.
Well, that's something that you decided to bring in from your television iteration of Another View. Let's keep the round table and bring it on the radio, and it works.
Absolutely. It was a very, very popular segment when we were on TV, and our panelists, Roger Chesley and Carol Pretlow and Will Leviste and Bill Thomas, always have a different perspective, and they bring it to us. People get involved in the conversation. It's a great time. So we hope that we will be able to continue to bring you this type of programming, and we can if you will support us at 889-9476.
Barbara, we just got a little bit left here. I'm going to give the phone numbers one more time, and it's back to Another View. 889-9476. It's important to get your calls in to show your support for Another View and other programming here on WHRV. Barbara?
Thank you so much, Anthony. I appreciate that. And this is Another View, and we are talking about the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. And our guests today are Barbara Ciara, who is a member of the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, along with Dianne Blakeney. I said it right, yes. Who is the Tidewater Cluster Coordinator for the sorority and Public Information Officer for the Mid-Atlantic region, Kellee Edmonds. And Sherry has been holding very patiently on the phone. So hi, Sherry, you're on the air.
Hello.
How you doing?
Good. How are you doing, ladies?
Hi, good
Hi.
afternoon.
I just wanted to say I am a fan of the show. Very grateful for you being on the air.
Thank you.
I'm also a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha.
Yay!
And my experience was when I was in high school, I used to babysit for a lady who was a member of the organization, and I just loved the way she carried. She was very poised as well. She was a leader in the community. She took care of her family, and I wanted to role model that behavior. So once I went to my college, I immediately said, that's what I'm looking for. And I still saw that same role modeling in the women on campus. And once I became a member of the sisterhood, some of those same young ladies who I met, I'm still friends with today. We shared childbirth, we shared weddings, and that bond in the sisterhood is like no other. And so not only do you get the chance to learn about professionalism, you get the chance to develop those personal relationships, and AKA teaches you life lessons that you learn and will continue to use for the rest of your life. So I just wanted to share that, and thank you for allowing us to be on the air.
Oh, Sherry, we appreciate your phone call. Now, before you go, I'm going to ask you now, I hope I say this right. Where did you do your MIP?
My MIP. I did my MIP at Clark Atlanta University,
Okay.
Alpha Pi chapter,
Okay.
and that was in 1995.
All
Excellent.
right.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for calling, Sherry. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Okay,
Sherry.
take care.
Bye-bye.
And
All right.
Barbara,
Go ahead.
And,
Go
you know,
ahead,
I
Diane.
wanted to say thanks, Sherry, for sparking that thought, because once you join Alpha Kappa Alpha, you are a member for life. And if God calls you home, we have special activities that we do for the family and a recognition and an honorary service for that member.
So you literally stay a member for life. You can't fall out of it once you become
No,
an AKA.
you're
Well,
in
there
it
you
for
go.
life.
You're there. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
You
a
are an AKA.
commitment.
It's a
It is
commitment.
a commitment. Okay.
Yes. You don't find too many dropping out.
Not too many. Okay, Kelly, I have to ask you this question. What's up with the pink and green?
What's up with the pink and green? Well, it's fabulous, first of all.
But how did that color combination come together? Do you know?
Well, that's part of our history. You know,
Yes.
it's the
Salmon,
pink, it's
pink,
the right,
and
and the apple green.
apple green.
You know, that is
So do those colors have a special meaning that you can't tell us about?
You might want to join.
Is that what it is?
they have special meaning to the members, of course, but we just, it's lovely to walk down the street and see someone in pink and green, and you automatically wonder, are you a member of the sorority, or do you just love that combination?
Now, I know that what was it, 2008, you guys celebrated your 100th anniversary, and it was in Washington, D.C., and I remember people talking about there were just seas of women.
We're talking
around, Barbara.
thousands and thousands and thousands of women.
Did you go?
No, I didn't have an
You weren't
opportunity. It
there.
was in conflict with my national convention with journalism. But I'm telling you,
It was.
It was an event because people sent pictures and videos, and it was a sight to behold. It was my loss.
Were
Yes.
you two ladies there?
Oh, yes.
Tell
I
me
was
about your
there.
experience. You weren't there, Kelly, but you were, Diane. Tell me about your experience.
Almost 20,000 plus sorors members were in there, and in Washington D.C. And if you know the makeup of the streets, and we were able to move that number of people back and forth from the hotels to the convention center like a piece of cake. It was just the whole city stopped for Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, and I cannot think of frustration with the numbers of members that were in the place. It was so organized, and transportation was so cooperative. It was just so fabulous to see the movement, because when you have that large number of people coming to one place, you think of the havoc that you can have, but it was just a smooth sailing experience. 75-year plus members were there, and we, you just acknowledge all the leaders in the past for that 100 years, and emotionally and significantly, if you needed to be re-energized for the purposes of why you're part of this organization, that was the place.
Let me ask
to
you,
be.
were because people live to be 100
Yes.
now, were any of the original 9 or any of them still
No.
alive?
but those who had been in the sorority that long could talk about their experiences with meeting them and seeing them operate.
And this summer, we're going to have our next celebration, a biennial celebration. We'll be going to California this summer.
Okay.
So we'll be turning San Francisco pink and green this summer for that convention.
You know, when I look at you all's faces as you're talking about Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, and there's such pride in your face. Can you articulate for me a little bit, for those who may not understand this kind of sorority camaraderie pride thing, what it's about, Barbara?
Barbara, you and I have had discussions over the years about this, because it wasn't something that you ordinarily gravitated toward, but you were very curious about it as I was trying to go through that process. And I guess the one thing that I can tell you that makes it one of the things that made that decision for me is that one individual can make change, but when you join with like-minded people who want to do the same wonderful things in the community, you are incredibly powerful. And, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated do the right thing when nobody's looking.
I was just going to say, because I don't hear from you all that much about come here because we're doing this, but you're actually just in the community, just making it happen.
Making it happen
in the community, making change. Everything from Hurricane Katrina to all kinds of incredible natural disasters, giving blood to the American Red Cross. There is a call out, an all call to sororities when things happen to our communities and, dare I say, our nation, and then we rally the call and we respond. You don't necessarily do it for the credit, you just do it because it's the right thing to do. And I think having that power of bringing thousands of women to address a need, I think is just mind-boggling to me, and it's one of the things that attracted me to the organization.
Kellee, what are you going to tell your daughter? How old is she, first of all?
22 months.
Oh. Well, she's got a little ways to go.
Just a little bit.
Okay.
She'll have one of those AKA in training T-shirts.
Yeah, she
Absolutely.
has a AKA T-shirt and everything.
But as you talk to young women, what do you tell who are not a part of the sorority, especially the young women that you all are mentoring? What do you tell them in terms of why they should consider joining?
Well, I think because we're all in this life, in this world for a reason, right? What is your purpose? And if you're not doing good for others, what is your purpose? And so I think being a member of this sorority gives you the opportunity, the exposure to really do good, have those touch points within your community, to go and help a child with their backpack to go school shopping for their supplies, or give a gift card to a woman who's in a shelter, or to help a young girl who's in the 6th grade learn about civic engagement. Okay? To tutor these young students. That's when you go home at the end of the day and go, wow.
Yes.
I did something today that contributed to
that you can feel it.
Yes, service to all mankind. That's what we're about, and that's what we've been about for all these years.
And we have structure that support each other too, because there have been workshops I've attended about financial planning that our sorority has sponsored, and it's eye-opening stuff that helps us with our everyday living. So that's that kind of thing is just very valuable, I think, to all of us.
I was surprised to find out that there are so many chapters just within the Mid-Atlantic region. I mean, is it geographical? Is it by campus? Kind of give me a sense of how you become a chapter.
Well,
Dianne,
if there is not a chapter in your area, an initiation of contacting the Mid-Atlantic Regional Director and indicating to her that there's a group of interested ladies interested in having a chapter in their neighborhood or in their geographic area. And it might be too far to travel to another area just for a monthly meeting. And with that, you make those contacts, and that's the way it begins to start one.
Now, Hampton Roads has 7 major cities.
Yes.
Is there a different chapter in every city?
Yes.
Practically, yeah.
Practically, yes.
Wow. But I mean, our area, while it's geographically large, it's still kind of a small area. So I mean, is there a lot of working together with other chapters on a particular project?
Yes, there's a lot of work to be done, surprisingly.
Yeah, we're very supportive of each other in cross-pollination with the chapters. Other chapters have pressed me into service to MC some of their events.
Yes.
And, so, we help each other out.
440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. If you are a part of a Greek-lettered organization, give us a call and let's talk about it. Let's talk about what made it special for you. I know one of the experiences that people on the outside have of sororities and fraternities is the step show. Can somebody talk about what that is and why that's a part of campus life?
It's
Diane likes that. I got a feeling you must have been out there stepping away.
But remember I said I joined in 1972.
Yes.
We weren't stepping, we were strolling.
You were strolling.
And you were a sophisticated lady who did a little block show.
Oh.
And we just, you walk around singing, AKA. But now, as the time changed, you went into another century, the 80s, you had the entrance of stepping and synchronized moves and songs.
That's what stepping is, synchronized moving.
It's like, and it's a large group, usually like 12, and people enjoy the creativeness.
Now, my question, though, is as grad chapter joiners of this sorority, do you all step?
Well,
we have our moments. I'll just say we have our moments.
Well, I'm going to tell you,
it may not necessarily be synchronized stepping, right?
I will tell you that I'm not sure there's going to be a national trophy involved with any of us at a grad chapter, but we do have younger membership who I think embrace the concept of that more so than others of a certain age.
Yes.
But we still have our moves.
Yes.
We have our moves.
I see. Okay, Kellee, everybody's giving their opinion, but you. She's like, no.
Ditto.
But it's all a part of creating a fun atmosphere along with some of the more serious mission initiatives that we have that create that bond. And I mean, I'm telling you, Barbara, if you were over at the Marriott and the Sheraton, you would guaranteed to be having a good time.
A good time over there. Okay, there is also a call, I'll call it, that different sororities make, and they have different sounds. And there is one that is associated with AKA. Now, I understand. I
don't know what you're talking
about.
That
it is something that maybe and tell me if I'm wrong or if I'm right, that maybe is done more so on the college campuses than it is once you become a more mature adult.
I will defer to my sorors to answer that one.
I would just say that we are about the business
We're
of
about
Alpha.
the business.
Okay.
Alpha, Kappa.
Kappa Alpha.
Sorority
And
Incorporated.
noises don't count.
And noises don't count.
Yes.
Okay. They're making it hard for me here because they're just not giving up any of the. Barbara, earlier you talked about the one reason why the sorority is relevant is because of the connections that you can make on a professional basis. You talk about the other reason being the ability to help others who need help. What's another reason why today in 2012 a sorority is still relevant and, as far as you all are concerned, will continue to be relevant moving forward?
Well, we have some initiatives, and every time we receive a new international president, we get a new platform. And Carolyn House Stewart is our president, and she has in the international program initiatives, and emerging young leaders is just one aspect of it. We also have a strong focus on health, and we are encouraged, and it has to be part of our chapter program to include American Cancer Society partnerships, American Kidney Fund, and at Virginia Union in Richmond next week, we are kicking off an asthma prevention and management program.
So you're looking at a lot of the health issues that particularly affect African
global
Americans
poverty,
disproportionately.
economic safety, security, social justice, and human rights, and some
So
of the
it goes
things
on and on.
dealing with human trafficking and domestic violence awareness. So we have a lot of work to do.
And something as simple as, creating a tutorship for kids whose parents are in prison. Those are often children who are forgotten and not embraced by many other social organizations. So overall, we're trying to, make our imprint to make the world a better place, because you don't want that generation to, you don't want to create a new generation of people who are behind bars.
Are you finding, as time goes on, you're having more and more women committing or wanting to commit to the organization? To become a member of the organization?
Well, we're not in recruitment mode. I'd like to say that.
Yeah.
We're not in recruitment mode. What we like to do is set an example for others to see. And then if the opportunity presents itself, they hopefully will know what we're about. But, we're not out there actively recruiting. We have a mission statement for the soldiers we already have in camp.
Right.
So that's pretty much our approach there.
260,000 members. We have more than 950 graduate and undergraduate chapters throughout. Even we're global. Whereas
Okay. Well, ladies, we are out of time. And I really appreciate you all coming on and talking with us about Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority. That's Barbara Ciara, who is a member of the fraternity, sorority, excuse me.
That would be the husband.
Exactly. Tidewater Cluster Coordinator Dianne Blakeney and Public Information Officer for the Mid-Atlantic region of AKA Kellee Edmonds. Ladies, thanks so much. And we'll be right back.
I'm a AKA Alpha Kappa Alpha. I'm a AKA Alpha Kappa Alpha. Put it in 19. Put it in 08. Put it in Alpha Kappa Alpha. Put it in their face. I'm a AKA Alpha Kappa Alpha. I'm a AKA Alpha Kappa Alpha. Put it in 19. Put it in 08. Put it in Alpha Kappa Alpha. Put it in their face. I'm a
Too bad we are not on television. You guys just missed the greatest dance. It was great. An array of talent relaying African American history in thought-provoking ways. That's just one way to describe some of the brilliant pieces that make up the 30 Americans exhibit currently on display at Norfolk's Chrysler Museum. Our Lisa Godley takes us through this one-of-a-kind show designed to make you think, sometimes gasp, and most certainly smile.
Powerful portrayals of African Americans spanning history, from slavery to modern-day urban settings. This is just part of what you'll find while touring the 30 Americans exhibit at the Chrysler Museum.
This is a very special opportunity for our visitors.
30 Americans showcases some of the most significant artist contributions of the past 3 decades, showcasing artists like Kara Walker. For her piece titled Camptown Ladies, Walker cuts out silhouettes of cartoonish-looking figures, laying them out in the form of a mural. The shadow-like figures emerge from the white wall, telling stories that symbolize the pain, suffering, and degradation endured by slaves in the Old South. Museum visitor Tara Fry says Walker's Camptown Ladies was her first stop and left a lasting impression.
Because it looked like she was telling a story, in the whole room. So that was really interesting.
The museum's curator of modern and contemporary art, Amy Brandt, explains why Camptown Ladies has a room to itself.
This is a real quintessential work by the artist. She investigates the antebellum era and really probes deeply into race relations, power structures that occurred in the 19th century within slavery, the institution of slavery. It's a really non-linear way to think about history and society. And if it doesn't make sense in many ways, it's not supposed to. You're supposed to look at the images and see how they come together. It's a mixing of fact and fiction in a really interesting and unique way.
75 distinct pieces of art are strategically placed throughout the museum. All are on loan from the Rubel family collection in Miami, Florida. Another haunting look at history is seen in Gary Simmons' piece titled Duck, Duck, Noose. As you enter the room, Simmons recreates an image that may possibly stop you in your tracks. Here, the focus is on a circle of 8 wooden stools. On each stool is the hood from a child-sized Ku Klux Klan uniform. And in the center of the circle hangs a noose.
And this is an example of what we call identity art of the 1990s when it was made. And this period was one in which many different African American artists and women artists were really struggling to gain recognition in the art world, and they made very, very powerful works that drew attention to their own history, their own culture, the issues that they were grappling with in history, painful moments that you may not want to really relive, just put brazenly in your face, and you're almost forced to deal with it in a way.
Fast forward a few decades, and one of Nick Cave's sound suits is sure to catch your eye. The former Alvin Ailey dancer turned fashion designer and later artist created colorful suits that completely cover the dancer's body while delivering a powerful message. The 4 on display at the Chrysler don't move. They're on mannequins.
And when you put them on, they create a noise. The actual texture of the material creates a kind of shimmering noise. And they're also meant to be danced in. You will wear them and perform in them. And so they have a really interesting kind of fun and vibrant quality to them.
Kehinde Wiley's work may remind you of something you've seen before, but his work has a unique flavor.
He actually takes his figures his subjects off of the street. Sometimes he doesn't even know them, and he'll bring them back to his studio. He will have them pour through art history books and pick out a painting that appeals to him from history. Typically it's from the Renaissance or the Baroque periods. And then he will sort of repaint that painting with an eye to contemporary culture. So here you see the person in street clothes, just wearing what he would normally wear today. The background is very textured, very vibrant, and appears to almost kind of take over the figure.
Wiley's 9-foot-tall painting of a young man in a hoodie, holding a javelin and sitting on a rearing horse, will most certainly make you look twice. 30 Americans offers something for everyone. The exhibition at the Chrysler is divided into sections representing themes that bring together the amazing works of 30 talented artists. For Another View, I'm Lisa Godley.
And intern Rashad Rose served as the associate producer on Lisa's story. 30 Americans will be on display at the Chrysler until July 15th. Now it's time for things to view and do in Hampton Roads.
You will be my Saturday love.
You're invited to a community meeting to discuss plans for events to celebrate the sesquicentennial of the Emancipation Proclamation. The meeting is tomorrow, Saturday, April 21st, from 10 until noon at the Newsom House in Newport News. Come share your thoughts and knowledge of local sites related to slavery and resistance to slavery. The event is sponsored by the Lincoln Subcommittee of the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Commission in partnership with the College of William and Mary. Call 757-221-7889 for more information. The National Forum for Black Public Administrators is holding its 29th annual conference April 21st through 24th at the Virginia Beach Convention Center. Featured speakers include author and talk show host Melissa Harris Perry and Vernice Flygirl Amore, the first African-American female combat pilot. To find out more, call 202-408-9300. Commonwealth Catholic Charities invites you to its 4th annual World Fusion Dinner and Silent Auction. It's also tomorrow, April 21st, at the Hampton Roads Convention Center in Hampton. Ugandan group Kenobi with the African Sensation will perform. Tickets are available. Call 247-3600 for reservations. And you're invited to the 8th annual Senator Yvonne B. Miller Math Bowl on Thursday, April 26th at 1 p.m. at PB Young Senior Elementary School. The Math Bowl allows 4th and 5th graders to showcase their knowledge in mathematics. Come on out and support the students at PB Young Elementary. The YWCA Southampton Roads invites you to stand against racism by attending a show of 30 Americans, followed by a thought-provoking discussion about race relations, hosted by the civil rights pioneer Ann Deardsley Vernon. It's Friday, April 27th from 3 to 5 at the Chrysler Museum. It's free and all are invited. Call 625-4248 to find out more. And that's our show for this Friday. Next week, the president of Norfolk State University, Dr. Tony Atwater, joins us to discuss NSU's newest initiative, the Spartan Crusade for Academic Success. For producer Mark Burnett, who's sitting in for Lisa Godley, audio engineer Perry Smith, Courtney Jackson, who answered the phones, I'm Barbara Ham Lee. We'll be right back here next Friday at noon for another view.